Yeah.
Sometimes I wish if I talk to the agent, it should be multimodal so it also understands my emotions.
I mean, it might move there. It might move there.
It will. It totally will.
What do you think about Claude Code in comparison to OpenClaw? So Claude Code and maybe the Codex coding agent. Do you see them as kind of competitors?
I mean, first of all, competitor is fun when it's not really a competition.
Yeah.
Like, I'm happy if all it did is like inspire people to build something new. Cool. I still use Codex for the building. I know a lot of people use OpenClaw to build stuff, and I worked hard on it to make that work. And I do smaller stuff with it in terms of code. But like if I work hours and hours, I want a big screen, not WhatsApp, So for me, a personal agent is much more about my life, or like a coworker. Like I give it like a GitHub URL, like, hey, try out this CLI. Does it actually work? What can we learn? Blah blah blah. But when I'm deep in the flow, I want to have multiple things and it being very, very visible what it does. So I don't see it as a competition. It's different things.
But do you think there's a future where the two kind of combine? Like your personal agent is also your best developing co-programmer partner.
Yeah, totally. I think this is where the puck's going. That this is going to be more and more your operating system.
The operating system.
And it already is so funny. Like I added support for sub agents and also for TTI support, so you could actually run Cloud Code or Codex.
Mm-hmm.
And because mine's a little bit bossy, it started it and it told him like who's the boss basically, and it's like Codex is obeying me.
Wow, there's a power struggle.
And also the current interface is probably not the final form. Like if you think more globally, we copied Google for agents. You have like a prompt and then you have a chat interface. That to me very much feels like when we first created television and then people recorded radio shows on television and you saw that on TV.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's better ways how we eventually will communicate with models, and we are still very early in this how will it even work phase. So it will eventually converge, and we will also figure out whole different ways how to work with those things.
One of the other components of workflow is operating system. So I told you offline that for the first time in my life, I'm expand my sort of
What's up, guys?
realm of exploration to the Apple ecosystem, to Macs, iPhone, so on. For most of my life, I've been a Linux, Windows, and WSL1, WSL2 person, which I think are all wonderful. But I'm expanding to also trying Mac because it's another way of building, and it's also a way of building that a large part of the community currently that's utilizing LLMs and agents is using. So that's the reason I'm expanding to it. But is there something to be said about the different operating systems here? We should say that OpenClaw is supported across the operating systems.
Yeah.
I saw WSL2 recommended, side Windows for certain operations, but then Windows, Linux, Mac OS are obviously supported.
Yeah, it should even work natively in Windows. I just didn't have enough time to properly test it. And like the last 90% of software always easier than the first 90%. So I'm sure there's some dragons left that will eventually nail out. My road was for a long time Windows, just because I grew up with that, and I switched and had a long phase with Linux, built my own kernels and everything. And then I went to university and I had my hacky Linux thing and saw this white MacBook and I just saw this as a thing of beauty, the white plastic one, and then I converted to Mac because mostly I was sick that audio wouldn't work on Skype and all the other issues that Linux had for a long time. And then I just stuck with it, and then I dug into iOS, which required macOS anyhow.
What?
Today?
Oh, are you still making food?
Sure. Make something.
Alright, cool.
Yeah, I don't know what I'll make yet, but I'm fixing it up. How you feeling?
I'm live streaming right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Cool.
I'm just watching the Lex. I don't know if you wanted to watch this Lex Friedman video.
About?
Claudebot.
Oh, I literally watched it. At least I watched half of it.
Yeah. I want to start talking to Anton. Maybe I want to start using this tool.
Yeah, Anton, like my friend Anton.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's see if we can help me. If you can help me set it up.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you're not worried about the security issues you're talking about?
I don't know. Like, it might be like deception because he said that like a lot of the stuff that with security issues is more is fear mongering. I don't know.
Yeah. But he'd probably be likely to say that, right? But yeah, okay, fair enough. I mean, I'm sure there's some truth to it, right? Because it is giving an AI like with access to the computer. But yeah, I mean, I think it's probably worth a try. Yeah, sick. Yeah, cool. Alright, I'll let you know when I've made the food thing.
Yeah, fine.
Also, it was never a question. I think Apple lost a little bit of its lead in terms of native. Native apps used to be so much better. And especially in the Mac, there's more people that build software with love. On Windows, Windows has much more. And like function-wise, there's just more, period. But a lot of it felt more functional and less done with love. I mean, Mac always like attracted more designers and people. I felt, even though like often it has less features, it had more delight and playfulness. So I always valued that. But in the last few years, many times I actually prefer, oh God, people are going to roast me for that, but I prefer Electron apps because they work. And native apps often, especially if it's like a web service with a native app, are lacking features. I mean, I'm not saying it couldn't be done. It's more like a focus thing that, like, for many companies, native was not that big of a priority. But if they build an Electron app, it's the only app. So it is a priority, and there's a lot more code sharing possible. And I build a lot of native Mac apps. I love it. I can help myself. Like,
If you
I
can't
love
tell, I'm pretty stoned
crafting
right
little
now.
Mac menu bar tools. Like, I built one to monitor your codecs use. I built one I call Trimmy that's specifically for agentic use. When you select text that goes over multiple lines, it would remove the new lines, so you could actually paste it to a terminal. That was again, I like, this is annoying me, and after the 20th time of it is annoying me, I just built it. There's a cool Mac app for OpenClaw that I don't think many people discovered yet, also because it still needs some love. It feels a little bit too much like the Huma car right now, because I just experiment a lot with it. It lacks the polish.
So you still love it. You still love adding to the delight of that operating system.
But then you realize, like, I also built one, for example, for GitHub. And then if you use Swift UI, like the latest and greatest at Apple, and took them forever to build something to show an image from the web. Now we have async image. But I added support for it, and then some images would just not show up or like be very slow. And I had a discussion with Codex, like, hey, why is that a bug? And even Codex said, like, yeah, there's this async image, but it's really more for experimenting and it should not be used in production. But that's Apple's answer to like showing images from the web. This shouldn't be so hard. You know, this is like insane. Like, how am I in 2026 and my agent tells me don't use the stuff Apple built because it's there, but it's not good. And like, this is now in the weights. It is just, to me, this is like, he had so much head start and so much love, and they kind of just like blundered it and didn't evolve it as much as they should.
But also, there's just the practical reality. If you look at Silicon Valley, most of the developer world that's kind of playing with LLMs and agentic AI, they're all using Apple products. And then at the same time, Apple is not really like leaning on that. Like they're not opening up and playing and working together and like, yes.
Isn't it funny how they completely blunder AI and yet everybody's buying Mac Minis?
What does that even make sense? You're quite possibly the world's greatest Mac salesman of all time.
No, you don't need a Mac Mini to install OpenClaw. You can install it on the web. There's a concept called nodes, so you can like make your computer a node and it will do the same. There is something said for running it on separate hardware that right now is useful. There's a big argument for the browser. You know, I built an agentic browser using there. And I mean, it's basically Playwright with a bunch of extras to make it easier for agents.
Playwright is a library that controls the browser, and it's really nice, easy to use.
And our internet is slowly closing down. Like there's a whole movement to make it harder for agents to use. So if you do the same in a data center and websites detect that it's an IP from a data center, the website might just block you, or it make it really hard, or it put a lot of captures in the way of the agent. I mean, agents are quite good at happily clicking "I'm not a robot."
Yeah.
But having that on a residential IP makes a lot of things simpler. So there's ways, but it really does not need to be a Mac. It can be any old hardware. I always say, like, maybe use the opportunity to get yourself a new MacBook or whatever computer you use and use the old one as your server instead of buying a standalone Mac Mini. But then there's a lot of very cute things people build with Mac Minis that I like.
Yeah.
I know I don't get commission from Apple. They didn't really communicate much.
It's sad. Can you actually speak to what it takes to get started with OpenClaw? There's a lot of people. What is it? Somebody tweeted at you, Peter, make OpenClaw easy to set up for everyday people. 99.9% of people can't access to OpenClaw and have their own lobster because of their technical difficulties in getting it set up. Make OpenClaw accessible to everyone, please. And you replied, working on that. From my perspective, it seems there's a bunch of different options and it's already quite straightforward, but I suppose that's if you have some developer background.
I mean, right now you have to paste in a one-line into the terminal.
Right.
And there's also an app. The app kind of does that for you, but there should be a Windows app. The app needs to be easier and more love. The configuration should potentially be web-based or in the app. And I started working on that. But honestly, right now, I want to focus on a few security aspects. And once I'm confident that this is at a level that I can recommend my mom, then I'm going to make it simpler. Like right now,
You want to make it harder so that it doesn't scale as fast as it's scaling.
yeah, it would be nice if it wouldn't. I mean, that's like hard to say, right? But if the growth would be a little slower, that would be helpful because people are expecting inhuman things from a single human being. And yes, I have some contributors, but also that whole machinery I started a week ago. So that needs more time to figure out. And not everyone has all day to work on that.
There's some beginners listening to this, programming beginners. What advice would you give to them about, let's say, joining the agentic AI revolution?
It's really hard to do this
Like-
right now.
Playing is the best way to learn. If you wanna, I'm sure if you are like a little bit a builder, you have an idea in your head that you want to
Why
build,
can't
just
I
build that. Or like give it a try. It doesn't need to be perfect. I built a whole bunch of stuff that I don't use. It doesn't matter. Like it's the
Oh,
journey.
there we go. Okay.
You know, it's like the philosophical way that the end doesn't matter, the journey matters. Have fun. My God, like those things, I don't think I ever had so much fun building things because I can focus on the hard parts now. A lot of coding,
How do
I
you
always
do
thought I
this?
like coding, but really I like building. And whenever you don't understand something, just ask. You have an infinitely patient answering machine that can explain you anything at any level of complexity. Sometimes there's like one time I asked,
God,
"Hey, explain me
fucking
that like
damn it.
I'm 8 years old," and it started giving me a story with crayons and stuff, and I'm like, "No, not like that. Like I'm okay, up
I
the
can't
age a
figure.
little
I
bit, you know.
can't
I'm like,
figure
I'm
this
not an
out right
intellectual
now.
child. I just needed simpler language
can't
for
figure
like
it out.
a tricky database concept that I didn't grok in the first time. But you know, you can just ask things. Like there's like it used to be that I had to go on Stack Overflow or ask on Twitter, and then maybe 2 days later I get a response, or I had to try for hours. And now you can just ask stuff. I mean, it's never. You have like your own teacher. You know that there's like statistics. You can learn faster if you have your own teacher. You have this infinitely patient machine. Ask it.
But what would you say? So what's the easiest way to play? So maybe OpenClaw is a nice way to play. So you can then set everything up, and then you could chat with it.
You can also just experiment with it and like modify it. Ask your agent. I mean, there's infinite ways how it can be made better. Play around, make it better. More general, if you're a beginner and you actually wanna learn how to build software really fast, get involved in open source. Doesn't need to be my project. In fact, maybe don't use my project because my backlog is very large. But I learned so much from open source. Just like be humble. Don't send the pull request right away. But there's many other ways you can help out. There's many ways you can just learn by just reading code, by being on Discord or wherever people are, and just like understanding how things are built. I don't know, like Michio Hachimoto builds Ghosty, the terminal, and he has a really good community where there's so many other projects. Like pick something that you find interesting and get involved.
Do you recommend that people that don't know how to program or don't really know how to program learn to program also? So when you can get quite far right now by just using natural language, right? Do you still see a lot of value in reading the code, understanding the code, and being able to write a little bit of code from scratch?
It definitely helps.
It's hard for you to answer that
Yeah.
because you don't know what it's like to do any of this without knowing the base knowledge. Like you might take for granted just how much intuition you have about the programming world, having programmed so much, right?
There's people that are high agency and very curious, and they get very far, even though they have no deep understanding how software works, just because they ask questions and questions, and agents are infinitely patient. Like, part of what I did this year is I went to a lot of iOS conferences because that's my background, and just told people, don't see yourself as an iOS engineer anymore. Like, you need to change your mindset. You are a builder, and you can take a lot of the knowledge how to build software into new domains, and all of the more fine-grained details agents can help. You don't have to know how to splice an array or what the correct template syntax is or whatever, but you can use all your general knowledge, and that makes it much easier to move from one tech galaxy into another. And oftentimes there's languages that make more or less sense depending on what you build, right? So, for example, when I build simple CLIs, I like Go. I actually don't like Go. I don't like the syntax of Go. I didn't even consider the language. But the ecosystem is great. It works great with agents. It is garbage collected. It's not the highest performing one, but it's very fast. And for those type of CLIs that I build, Go is a really good choice. So I use a language I'm not even a fan of. That's my main to-go thing for CLIs.
Isn't that fascinating that here's a programming language you would have never used if you had to write from scratch, and now you're using because LLMs are good at generating it, and it has some of the characteristics that makes it resilient, like garbage collected.
Because everything's weird in this new world, and that just makes the most sense.
What's the best, ridiculous question, what's the best programming language for the AI agentic world? Is it JavaScript, TypeScript?
TypeScript is really good. Sometimes the types can get really confusing, and the ecosystem is a jungle. So for web stuff, it's good. I wouldn't build everything in it.
Don't you think we're moving there? Like, that everything will eventually be written, eventually it's written in JavaScript,
The births and deaths of JavaScript, and we're living through it in real time.
Like, what does programming look like in 20 years, right? In 30 years, in 40 years? What do programs and apps look like?
You can even ask the question, like, do we need a programming language that's made for agents? Because all of those languages are made for humans. So what would that look like? I think there's a whole bunch of interesting questions that we'll discover. And also how, because everything is now world knowledge, how it in many ways things will stagnate. Because if you build something new and the agent has no idea, that's going to be much harder to use than something that's already there. When I build Mac apps, I build them in Swift and Swift UI, partly because I like pain.
God damn it.
Partly because the deepest level of system integration I can only get through there. And you clearly feel a difference if you click on an Electron app and it loads a web view in the menu. It's just not the same. Sometimes I just also try new languages just to like get a feel for them.
Like Zig?
Yeah, if it's something where I care about performance a lot, and it's a really interesting language. And it like agents got so much better over the last 6 months, from not really good to totally valid choice. Just still a very young ecosystem, and most of the time you actually care about ecosystem, right? So if you build something that does inference or goes into whole running model direction, Python, very good. But then if I build stuff in Python and I want a story where I can also deploy it on Windows, not a good choice.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I found projects that kind of did 90% of what I wanted, but were in Python, and I wanted an easy Windows story. Okay, just rewrite it in Go. But then if you go towards multiple threads and want more performance, Rust is a really good choice. There's just no single answer, and it's also the beauty of it. Like, it's fun, and now it doesn't matter anymore. You can just literally pick the language that has the most fitting characteristics and ecosystem for your problem domain. And yeah, it might be you might be a little bit slow in reading the code, but not really. I think you pick stuff up really fast, and you can always ask your agent.
So there's a lot of programmers and builders who draw inspiration from your story, just the way you carry yourself, your
I wish
choice
there was a
of
percentage sign on here.
making
See, like,
open
how
claw,
much of a percentage
open source,
you're winding up.
the way you have fun building and exploring, and doing that for the most part alone or on a small team. So, by way of advice, what metric should be the goal that they would be optimizing for? What would be the metric of success? Would it be happiness? Is it money? Is it positive impact for people who are dreaming of building? Because you went through an interesting journey. You've achieved a lot of those things, and then you fell out of love with programming a little bit for a time.
If I was just burning too bright for too long, I started PSPDF and ran it for 13 years, and it was high stress.
There we go.
I had to learn all the things fast and hard, like how to manage people, how to bring people on, how to deal with customers, how to do
So it wasn't just programming stuff, it was people stuff.
the stuff that burned me out was mostly people stuff. I don't think burnout is working too much. Maybe to a degree, everybody's different. I cannot speak in absolute terms, but for me, it was much more differences with my co-founders, conflicts, or like really high stress situation with customers that eventually grinded me down. And then when luckily we got a really good offer for like putting the company to the next level, and I already kind of worked 2 years on making myself obsolete. So at this point I could leave, and then I was sitting in front of the screen, and I felt like, Austin Powers, where they suck the mojo out. I was like, it was like gone. Like I couldn't get code out anymore. I was just like staring and feeling empty. And then
I gotta get better at this fucking game, man.
I just stopped. I booked like a one-way trip to Madrid, and it's like spent some time there. I felt I had to catch up on life, so I did a bunch of life catching up stuff.
Did you go through some lows during that period?
Maybe if I
And
why can't I get that to the
maybe
right
advice on
place?
how to.
Maybe advice on how to approach life. If you think that, oh yeah, work really hard and then I retire,
What the fuck?
I don't recommend that, because the idea of,
Yeah, I gotta hit it
oh
harder.
yeah, just enjoy life now, it maybe is appealing, but right now I enjoy life the most I ever enjoyed life. Because if you wake up in the morning and you have nothing to look forward to, you have no real challenge,
Why is this so fucking hard?
that gets very boring very fast. And then when you're bored, you're gonna look for other places how to stimulate yourself.
For fuck's
And then maybe that's drugs, but that'll eventually also get boring and you look for more, and that will lead you down a very dark path.
But you also showed on the money front, a lot of
What
people in
the
Silicon
fuck?
Valley in the startup world, they think maybe overthink way too much optimized for money.
I'm okay. I'm actually
And
a
you've also
retard.
shown that it's not like you're saying no to money. I mean, I'm sure you take money, but it's not
I'm
the
not like I
primary
don't understand how hard you hit
objective
it.
of
go.
your life. Can you just speak to that, your philosophy on money?
When I built my company, money was never the driving force. It felt more like an affirmation that I did something right. And having money solves a lot of problems. I also think that there's diminishing returns the more you have.
God
Like
damn it.
a cheeseburger is a cheeseburger.
Damn it.
And I think if you go too far,
What the how do you fucking score that?
oh, I do private jet and I only travel luxury,
Just gotta get better,
you
man.
disconnect with society. I donated quite a lot. Like I have a foundation for helping people that weren't so lucky.
And disconnecting from society is bad in that on many levels, but one of them is like humans are awesome. It's nice to continuously remember the awesomeness in humans.
I mean, I could afford really nice hotels. The last time I was in San Francisco, I did the first time the OG Airbnb experience and just
Yeah.
booked a room. Mostly because I thought, okay, either I'm out or I'm sleeping, and
Okay, there we go.
I don't like where all the hotels are, and I wanted a different experience. I think isn't life all about experiences? Like if you tailor your life towards I want to have experiences, it reduces the need for it needs to be good or bad. Like if people only want good experiences, that's not gonna work. But if you optimize for experiences, if it's good, amazing. If it's bad, amazing. Because like I learned something, I saw something, I did something. I wanted to experience that, and it was amazing. Like it was like this queer DJ in there, and I showed her how to make music with Cloud Code. I mean, like immediately bonded, and I had a great time.
Yeah, there's something about that couch surfing Airbnb experience, the OG. I mean, still to this day, it's awesome. It's humans. And that's why travel is awesome.
Yeah.
Just experience the variety of
Get
the
some
diversity of humans. And when it's shitty, it's good too, man. If it rains and you're soaked and it's all fucked and planes, everything is shit, everything is fucked. It's still awesome if you're able to open your eyes to it's good to be alive.
Yeah, and anything that creates emotion and feelings is good. Even
Yeah.
so maybe even the cryptic people are good because they definitely created emotions. I don't know if I should go that far.
Nah,
It's a
man,
big
give them
argument.
love, give them love. I do think that online lacks some of the awesomeness of real life.
Yeah.
It's an open problem of how to solve, how to infuse the online cyber experience with I don't know, with the intensity that we humans feel when it's in real life. I don't know if that's
Well,
a
it's
solvable
just
problem.
often because text is very lossy.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I wish if I talk to the agent, it should be multimodal so it also understands my emotions.
I mean, it might move there. It might move there.
It will. It totally will.
I mean, I have to ask you, just curious. I know you've probably gotten huge offers from major companies. Can you speak to who you're considering working with?
Yeah. So to like explain my thinking a little bit.
This is
right?
interesting. I'm curious to
I
see
did
who he's
not
gonna get to work with.
expect this blowing up so much. So there's a lot of doors that open because of it. There's like, I think every big VC company is in my inbox and try to get 15 minutes of me.
God damn.
So there's like
gotta
this
play a
butterfly
different
effect
game.
moment. I could just do nothing and continue. And I really like my life. Valid choice. Almost. Like I considered it when I wanted to delete the whole thing. I could create a company. Been there, done that. There's so many people that push me towards that, and yeah, like could be amazing.
We should say that you would probably raise a lot of money in that.
Yeah.
I don't know, hundreds of millions, billion. I don't know. It could just got unlimited amount of money.
Yeah. It just doesn't excite me as much because I feel I did all of that, and it would take a lot of time away from the things I actually enjoy. Same as when I was CEO, I think I learned to do it, and I'm not bad at it. Partly I'm good at it. But yeah, that path doesn't excite me too much, and I also fear it would create a natural conflict of interest. Like, what's the most obvious thing I do? I productize it. I put like a version safe for workplace. And then what do? I get a pull request with a feature like add audit log. But that seems like an enterprise feature. So now I feel I have a conflict of interest in the open source version and the closed source version. Or I change the license to something like FSL, where you cannot actually use it for commercial stuff. Would first be very difficult with all the contributions. And second of all, I like the idea that it's free as in beer and not free with conditions. Yeah, there's ways how you keep all of that for free and just like still try to make money, but those are very difficult. And you see there's like fewer and fewer companies manage that. Like even Tailwind, they're like used by everyone. Everyone uses Tailwind, right? And then they had to cut off 75% of their employees because they're not making money, because nobody's even going on the website anymore because it's all done by agents. And just relying on donations.
Can you make me a Chrome extension that's playing mini slots and roulette on the bottom left corner while you're watching YouTube? And then I want it to be an extension people can add it on and play slots while they're watching a YouTube video. Man, where's my fucking phone? There we go. I couldn't hear this.
Yeah, good luck. Like, if a project of my caliber, if I extrapolate what the typical open source project would get, it's not a lot. I still lose money on the project because I made the point of supporting every dependency except Slack. They're a big company. They can do without me. But all the projects that are done by mostly individuals, so like right now all the sponsorship goes right up to my dependencies. And if there's more, I want to like buy my contributors some merch,
So you're losing money.
Yeah, right now I lose money on this.
So it's really not sustainable.
I mean, it's like, I guess something between 10 and 20K a month, which is fine. I'm sure over time I could get that down. OpenAI is helping out a little bit with tokens now, and there's other companies that have been generous. But yeah, I'm still losing money on that. So that's one path I consider, but I'm just not very excited. And then there's all the big labs that I've been talking to. And from those, Meta and OpenAI seemed the most interesting.
Do you lean one way or the other?
Yeah. I'm not sure how much I should share there. It's not quite finalized yet. Let's just say, like, on either of these, my conditions are that the project stays open source, that maybe it's going to be a model like Chrome and Chromium. I think this is too important to just give to a company and make it theirs. We didn't even talk about the whole community part, but like the thing that I experienced in San Francisco, like at ClawCon, seeing so many people so inspired, like, and having fun and just like building shit and like having like robots and lobster stuff walking around. Like, people told me like they didn't experience this level of community excitement since like the early days of the internet, like 10, 15 years. And there were a lot of high caliber people there. I was like, I was amazed. I also like was very sensorily overloaded because too many people wanted to do selfies. But I love this. Like, this needs to stay a place where people can like hack and learn. But also, I'm very excited to like make this into a version that I can get to a lot of people, because I think this is the year of personal agents and that's the future. And the fastest way to do that is teaming up with one of the labs. And I also, on a personal level, I never worked at a large company, and I'm intrigued. When we talk about experiences, will I like it? I don't know. But I want that experience. I'm sure, like, if I announce this, then there will be people like, oh, he's sold out, blah blah blah. But the project will continue. From everything I talked to so far, I can even have more resources for that. Like, both of those companies understand the value that I created something that accelerates our timeline, and that got people excited about AI. I mean, can you imagine, like, I installed OpenClaw on one of my, I'm sorry, normie friends. I'm sorry, Vahan. But he's just, like,
Normie would love, yeah. For sure.
he like someone who uses the computer but never really, like, yeah, use some ChatGPT sometimes, but not very technical. Wouldn't really understand what I built. So, like, I'll show you, and I paid for him the $90, $100, I don't know, subscription for Anthropic, and set up everything for him with like VWSL, Windows. I was so curious, would it actually work on Windows? Was a little early. And then within a few days, he was hooked. Like, he texted me about all the things he learned. He built like even little tools. He's not a programmer. And then within a few days, he upgraded to the $200 subscription, or euros, because he's in Austria. And he was in love with that thing. That for me was like a very early product validation. It's like, I built something that
Why the fuck is this?
captures people. And then a few days later, Anthropic blocked him because based on their rules, using the subscription is problematic or whatever. And he was like devastated. And then he signed up for Minimax for $10 a month and uses that. And I think that's silly in many ways, because you just got a $200 customer. You just made someone hate your company. And we are still so early. Like, we don't even know what the final form is. Is it going to be cloud code? Probably not. Like, that seems very short-sighted to lock down your product so much. All the other companies have been helpful. I'm in Slack of most of the big labs. Kind of everybody understands that we are still in era of exploration, in the area of the radio shows on TV, and not a modern TV show that fully uses the format.
I think you've made a lot of people like see the possibility, non-technical people see the possibility of AI and just fall in love with this idea and enjoy interacting with AI, and that's a really beautiful thing. I think I also speak for a lot of people in saying, I think you're one of the great people in AI in terms of having a good heart, good vibes, humor, the right spirit, and so it would, in a sense, this model that you're describing, having an open source part and you being part of also building a thing inside, additionally, of a large company would be great, because it's great to have good people in those companies.
We know what also people don't really see is, I made this in 3 months. I did other things as well. I have a lot of projects. Like, this is not, in January, this was my main focus because I saw the storm coming. But before that, I built a whole bunch of other things. I have so many ideas. Some should be there. Some would be much better fitted when I have access to the latest toys. And I kind of want to have access to like the latest toys. So this is important. This is cool. This will continue to exist. My short-term focus is like working through those. Is it 3,000 PRs now by now? I don't even know. Like, there's a little bit of backlog. But this is not going to be the thing that I'm going to work until I'm 80. This is a window into the future. I'm going to make this into a cool product. But yeah, I have more ideas.
If you had to pick, is there a company you lean? So Meta, OpenAI, is there one you lean towards going with?
I spent time with both of those, and it's funny because a few weeks ago I didn't consider any of this, and it's really fucking hard. Like,
Yeah.
I know people at OpenAI. I love their tech. I think I'm the biggest codex advertisement shill that's unpaid, and it would feel so gratifying to like put a price on all the work I did for free. And I would love if something happens and those companies get just merged, because it's like,
Is this the hardest decision you've ever had to do?
yeah, I had some breakups in the past that feel like at a similar level.
Relationships, you mean?
Yeah. And I also know that in the end they're both amazing. I cannot go wrong. It's like
Right.
it's like one of the most prestigious and largest. I mean, the largest, but like they're both very cool companies.
Yeah, they both really know scale. So if you're thinking about impact, some of the wonderful technologies you've been exploring, how to do it securely and how to do it at scale, such that you can have a positive impact on a large number of people. They both understand that.
Both Nat and Mark basically played all week with my product and sent me like, oh, this is great. Oh, this is shit. Oh, I need to change this. Or like funny little anecdotes. And people using your stuff is kind of like the biggest compliment, and also shows me that they actually care about it. And I didn't get the same on the OpenAI side. I got to see some other stuff that I find really cool, and they lure me with. I cannot tell the exact number because of NDA, but you can be creative and think of the Cerebras deal and how that would translate into speed. And that was very intriguing. Like you give me Source Hammer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Been lured with tokens. So, yeah.
So it's funny. So Mark's sort of tinkering with the thing, essentially having fun with the thing.
Like when they first approached me, I got him in my WhatsApp, and he was asking, "Yeah, when you have a call?" And I'm like, "I don't like calendar entries. Let's just call now." And he was like, "Yeah, give me 10 minutes. I need to finish coding."
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess that gives you street cred. It's like, like he's still writing code. He didn't
does.
drift away in just being a manager. He gets me. That was a good first start. And then I think we had a 10-minute fight. What's better, Cloud Code or Codex? Like that's the thing you first do. Like you casually call
that's awesome.
someone with like that owns one of the largest companies in the world, and you have a 10 minutes conversation about that.
Yeah.
And then I think afterwards he called me eccentric but brilliant. But I also had some really, really cool discussion with Sam Altman. And he's very thoughtful, brilliant, and I like him a lot from the little time I had. Yeah, I mean, I know some people vilify both of those people. I don't think it's fair.
I think no matter what, the stuff you're building and the kind of human you are, doing stuff at scale is kind of awesome. I'm excited.
I am super pumped. And the beauty is if it doesn't work out, I can just do my own thing again. Like I told them, like I don't do this for the money. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, it's a nice compliment, but I wanna have fun and have impact, and that's ultimately what made my decision.
Can I ask you about? We've talked about it quite a bit, but maybe just zooming out about how OpenClaw works. We talked about different components. I want to ask if there's some interesting stuff we missed. So there's the gateway. there's the chat clients, there's the harness, there's the agentic loop. You said somewhere that everybody should implement an agent loop at some
Yeah,
point in
because
their lives.
it's like the hello world in AI, and it's actually quite simple.
Yeah.
And it's good to understand that that stuff's not magic. You can easily build it yourself. So writing your own little Claude code. I even did this at a conference in Paris for people to like introduce them to AI. I think that's a fun little practice. And you covered a lot. I think one silly idea I had that turned out to be quite cool is I built this thing with full system access. So it's like, with great power becomes great responsibility. And I was like, how can I up the stakes a little bit more?
Yeah, right.
And I just made it proactive. So I added a prompt. Initially, it was just a prompt, surprise me. Every like half an hour, surprise me, And later on, I changed it to be like a little more specific in the definition of surprise. But the fact that I made it proactive and that it knows you and that it cares about you, it's at least it's programmed to that, prompted to do that, and that is a follow on your current session, makes it very interesting because it would just sometimes ask a follow-up question or like, how's your day? I mean, again, it's a little creepy or weird or interesting, but Hypebeat very in the beginning is still today the model doesn't choose to use it a lot.
By the way, we're talking about Heartbeat, as you mentioned, the thing that regularly acts.
You just kick off the loop.
Isn't that just a cron job, man?
Yeah, right. It's like
the criticisms that you get are
you
hilarious.
can deduce any idea to like a silly. Yeah, it's just a cron job in the end. I have like separate cron jobs.
Isn't love just evolutionary biology manifesting itself in aren't you guys just using each other?
And then, and the project is all just glue of a few different dependencies, and there's nothing original. Why do people? Well, isn't Dropbox just FTP with extra steps?
Yeah.
I found it surprising where I had this. I had a shoulder operation a few months ago, so and the model rarely used Heartbeat, but then I was in the hospital, and it knew that I had the operation, and it checked up on me. It's like, "Are you okay?" And it's like, again, apparently, like if something significant in the context, that triggered the heartbeat when it rarely used the heartbeat. And it does that sometimes for people, and that just makes it a lot more relatable.
Let me look this up on Perplexity, how OpenClaw works, just to see if I'm missing any of the stuff. Local agent runtime, high-level architecture. We haven't talked much about skills, I suppose. Skill hub, the tools in the skill layer, but that's definitely a huge component, and there's a huge growing set of skills.
You know what I love? That half a year ago, like everyone was talking about MCPs.
Yeah.
And I was like, screw MCPs. Every MCP would be better as a CLI. And now this stuff doesn't even have MCP support. I mean, it has with asterisks, but not in the core layer, and nobody's complaining. So my approach is, if you want to extend the model with more features, you just build a CLI, and the model can call the CLI, probably gets it wrong, calls the help menu, and then on demand loads into the context what it needs to use the CLI. It just needs a sentence to know that the CLI exists if it's something that the model doesn't know by default. And even for a while, I didn't really care about skills, but skills are actually perfect for that because they boil down to a single sentence that explains the skill, and then the model loads the skill and that explains the CLI, and then the model uses the CLI. Some skills are like raw, but most of the time that works.
It's interesting. I'm asking Perplexity MCP versus Skills because this kind of requires a hot take that's quite recent. Because your general view is MCPs are dead-ish. So MCPs is a more structured thing. So if you listen to Perplexity here, MCP is what can I reach? So APIs, databases, services, files via protocol. So a structured protocol of how you communicate with a thing. And then skills is more how should I work? Procedures, hostile helper scripts, and prompts, often written in a kind of semi-structured natural language, right? And so technically skills could replace MCP if you have a smart enough model.
I think the main beauty is that models are really good at calling Unix commands. So if you just add another CLI, that's just another Unix command in the end. And MCPs, that has to be added in training. That's not a very natural thing for the model. It requires a very specific syntax. And the biggest thing, it's not composable. So imagine if I have a service that gives me weather data and it gives me the temperature, the average temperature, rain, wind, and all the other stuff. And I get like this huge blob back. As a model, I always have to get the huge blob back. I have to fill my context with that huge blob and then pick what I want. There's no way for the model to naturally filter unless I think about it proactively and add a filtering way into my MCP. But if I would build the same as a CLI and it would give me this huge blob, it could just add a JQ command and filter itself and then only get me what I actually need, or maybe even compose it into a script to like do some calculations with the temperature and only give me the exact output. And the you have no context pollution. Again, you can solve that with like sub agents and more charades, but it's just like workarounds for something that might not be the optimal way. It was good that we had MCPs because it pushed a lot of companies towards building APIs, and now I can like look at an MCP and just make it into a CLI. But this inherent problem that MCPs by default clutter up your context, plus the fact that most MCPs are not made good in general, make it just not a very useful paradigm. There's some exceptions like Playwright, for example, that requires state and is actually useful. That is an acceptable choice.
So Playwright used for browser use, which I think is already in OpenClaw is quite incredible, right?
Yeah.
You can basically do everything, most things you could think of using browser use.
That gets into the whole arch of every app is just a very slow API now, if you want or not. And that through personal agents, a lot of apps will disappear. Like I built a CLI for Twitter. I mean, I just reverse engineered the website and used the internal API, which is not very allowed.
It's called Bird, short-lived.
It was called Bird because the bird had to disappear.
The wings were clipped.
All they did is they just made access slower. You're not actually taking a feature away. But now, if your agent wants to read a tweet, it actually has to open the browser and read the tweet, and it will still be able to read the tweet. It will just take longer. It's not like you're making something that was possible not possible. No, now it's just taking. Now it's just a bit slower. So it doesn't really matter if your service wants to be an API or not. If I can access it in the browser, it is API. It's a slow API.
Can you empathize with their situation? Like, what would you do if you were Twitter, if you were X? Because they're basically trying to protect against other large companies scraping all their data.
Yeah.
But in so doing, they're cutting off like a million different use cases for smaller developers that actually want to use it for helpful, cool stuff.
I think if you have a very low per day baseline per account that allows read-only access, would solve a lot of problems. There's plenty automations where people create a bookmark and then use OpenClaw to like find the bookmark, do research on it, and then send you an email with like more details on it or a summary. That's a cool approach. I also want all my bookmarks somewhere to search. I would still like to have that.
So read-only access for the bookmarks you make on X. That seems like an incredible application because a lot of us find a lot of cool stuff on X. We bookmark. That's the general process of X. It's like, holy shit, this is awesome. Oftentimes, you bookmark so many things, you never look back at them. It would be nice to have
Yeah.
tooling that organizes them and allows you to research it further.
Yeah, I mean, and to be frank, I told Twitter proactively that, hey, I built this and there's a need, and they've been really nice, but also like, take it down. Fair, totally fair. But I hope that this woke up the team a little bit that there's a need. And if all you do is making it slower, you're just reducing access to your platform. I'm sure there's a better way. I'm very much against any automation on Twitter. If you tweet at me with AI, I will block you. No first strike. As soon as it smells like AI, and AI still has a smell, especially on tweets, it's very hard to tweet in a way that does look completely human. And then I block. Like, I have a zero tolerance policy on that. And I think it would be very helpful if like tweets done via API would be marked. Maybe there's some special cases and there should be a very easy way for agents to get their own Twitter account. We need to rethink social platforms a little bit. If we go towards a future where everyone has their agent, and agents maybe have their own Instagram profiles or Twitter accounts, or can like do stuff on my behalf, I think it should very clearly be marked that they are doing stuff on my behalf and it's not me. Because content is now so cheap. Eyeballs are the expensive part. And I find it very triggering when I read something and then I'm like, oh, no, this smells like AI.
Yeah.
It's probably not a great idea to do this, but just for 2 seconds. Yeah, me too. No. Dame un momento.